Hello everybody, great to be back. This is Word Smythe at the IOU, the Institute of the Unknown. The IOU is a perfect name because this channel is about what I can provide for you. What information can I give you today that you will find interesting, compelling, beneficial, useful, intriguing, thought-provoking, entertaining. It's about you. The information is the star of the show, not me. My earlier videos, I made some mistakes about telling you how amazing some of the things are. Some of these things really are amazing. I'm totally amazed every day by some of the things I've discovered. But that's for you to decide, not me. So I'll refrain from using those types of labels. I'll refrain from disparaging any group. I think I spoke negatively about doctors and physicians. I do not appreciate the way they are treating Morgellons patients, but we all evolve at our own pace. So, I understand doctors under a lot of pressure today also. So, also I think I totally pissed one guy off because I asked a question about his machine that he was trying to hawk or get money for. Let me just say this. I don't appreciate people using maladies, people's misfortune, to try to profit. Now, I admit I haven't tried every possible cure that people are hawking out there. I had no idea there was so much stuff out there until I really started looking at more on YouTube. All the other videos really opened my eyes. So I'm evolving, and I'll try and refrain from disparaging anybody's plan or whatever they're trying to do. That's not up to me to police someone else's potential fraud schemes or whatever else. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't tried everything. Maybe some things work for some people. I do think it's important to understand that there are a lot of different facets of Morgellons, and it may affect Morgellons. I call it Morgellons. I think it's pronounced Morgellons. Again, I'm learning as I go. So I think it's important to distinguish that there is probably a lot of different variation. And there's also I seem to be observing from other people's videos a lot of dual diagnosis type things, like Morgellons and Lyme disease, Morgellons and other maladies. Now, this is important because this is my own experience. I got Morgellons first. I did not have Lyme disease. But then I went out into the woods again another time to a special spot where I found some very, very fascinating artifacts. And it was cold, so I figured I was safe. Well, then I come home and I see there's two little bites on my arm. Right there. Within a couple days, the circle came shortly after. And immediately I started on a regimen of amoxicillin, which is the standard treatment for early diagnosed Lyme disease. I'm not prescribing that. I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving any medical advice. I'm just telling you that if you Google it, it will tell you that amoxicillin is the commonly prescribed antibiotic for Lyme disease at the early stages. That is common knowledge. It's not a recommendation. Okay? So, having said that, I began taking the amoxicillin, and luckily I didn't have any negative effects from the Lyme disease. Whereas for the first couple of days, I did have aches and pains, and my back started to hurt, and I couldn't sleep one night, and my legs started to hurt, and also my knuckles my skin started to get real dry, and you can see knuckles started to crack. It was taking its toll on me very quickly. So what I suspect is happening there is that the Morgellons enters the body, and then it also sends out some type of a signal to other vectors. Now this is purely theoretical, but this is how it happened with me. And the other vectors are then drawn towards the individual so that they weaken the person's immune system, and that also could benefit the entity that is wishing to benefit from your using your body for its own purposes, which is the Morgellons. Now, I spoke in another video about the parasite I found on my scalp, and it landed up on my shirt, and it totally freaked me out. And if you want to see that video, you have to go back to the R.J. Wordsmith files. It's a video about parasites, unknown parasites entering our brains. Now, it must be clear that some of my work is theoretical, and sometimes I explain those theories not as facts but as theories, and I reserve the right to update them and improve them and totally disregard them if that turns out to be the case. But at least you'll understand my process, my thinking process of how I come to these conclusions. So I did notice there was a lot of Lyme disease associated with Morgellons. I did not have Lyme disease. Then I went out in the woods. Next thing you know, I've got Lyme disease. Well, what do you know? Interesting, right? Yeah. It's probably sending out a signal to the vectors to come join the party. Yeah. And so then I went out and made the other video about the Bigfoot claw, and the blue orb showed up around me. I come back and there's a little bug bite right above my eyebrow, which you can still see. So I feel like, and the weather is very cold. You know, it's usually generally too cold, you would think, for ticks, but I understand that the ticks are evolving also and are able to deal with the cold. Some of these newer ticks are coming out. So there's a lot going on there, but I do think it is a possibility that when you get the Morgellons, it sends out signals to other vectors and they come to join the party. Purely my own theory. This is also another theory that I'm going to explain to you. I found that I had a strange egg type sub thing over here, and it turns out there's also one on this side. It was a little different, but there were these little round kind of nodules, and when I squeezed one, that little claw thing came out of there, but always this little oily stuff came out first. So that might give you a clue. It could be a clue that you're onto something that is more important to the entire integrity of the network that's trying to be built. So also I noticed that there's very thin fiber meshing that's in your skin, and you don't really know it's there until you start, until I started working on it. I didn't know it was there. So what I think is a possibility, again, this is a theory, is that the entities, the vector injects this into your body, and then the eggs start to grow. Now, like I said, this is purely a theory, and I reserve the right to revise it or disregard it. But this is what I'm thinking now. This is that the eggs grow in nice soft tissue on your neck, or on my neck, and then they develop into the other parasite that ends up on your scalp. if this is true, then by destroying the eggs, you should essentially be shutting down the entire operation. I can't say this is 100% certainty, but this is the theory I'm working with now. And I can tell you right now that it is healing up very nicely. There's still some in the back of my neck, which I feel was there already, is not new. It's just there's always a whole network of fibers back there, and I already removed everything from the back of my neck, everything from the top of my scalp, and now I'm working my way down to the other stuff in my neck. And there was this one deep one right here that is just taking so much work for me to get out. But honestly, there was black spots that showed up on my chest, and they all went away. There was some starting to start on my arm, and it healed up in both places. I really think I've got it licked, and let's keep our fingers crossed, because hopefully. Now, there's one other thing that I should point out. There's a spiritual side to every disease, and this is something that I'm still investigating. But I do notice that I take photos, and if somebody has something lurking around them, a dark presence, I can see it in the photos, and this is something new that happened to me. I guess I did see a video. A woman said the Morgellons was the beginning of her awakening, and I feel like I've had an awakening myself, and I feel like they all happened at sort of at the same time. I don't think the Morgellons initiated it, because I've been on this path for a long time of studying unusual things and having a fascination with mysteries and so forth, and spirituality is also part of my evolution. And so, you know, perhaps she's onto something there. Perhaps Morgellons is a way of working off negative karma, you know, on a spiritual sense. But whether it is or whether it isn't, I'm a believer that the universe or God, whatever you prefer, helps those who help themselves. So it's my duty as a warrior spirit to help myself and to relieve my own suffering. And if I have to destroy some other entity that's trying to feed off me to do so, then, you know, that's the way it goes. You know, some of these entities could probably destroy me at will, and I understand that. So, for whatever reason, they are choosing not to, and, you know, that is probably because there are those that protect humankind, and there are those that do not protect humankind, that like to use humankind for their own purposes. Now, perhaps that's out of necessity. You know, perhaps this particular type of entity is using humans for food, for experimentation, for other means, and maybe that's because they have no choice too. I do not know. I'll try to be fair to all sides. Of course, there are negative entities, but without the negative, we don't have the positive. So without the bad, you don't recognize the good. So, as a being who's trying to evolve, I must understand that all things have a role to play. And at the same time, I have a right to defend my own well-being. And so, when I speak to the forces that are out there, I do so in this type of manner, where I understand that you may have your reasons, but you have to understand that I'm a warrior spirit, and I won't go down without a fight. So, enough said about that. Let's talk about the IOU real quick. So I've been working on some logos, trying to, you know, as you can see, I got a whole pad full of just sketches here and stuff. The one I'm leaning towards is this kind of guy right here. You see that? It's like the I and the O and the U. The U is a horseshoe for good luck, because you need luck, and the O is, of course, investigation. The I is observation. So the IOU could be investigation, observation, and understanding. But it's also a reminder to me that this channel is about you. It's about trying to provide you with something that you find useful. So let's get on to some other interesting things. Now that I covered my Morgellons, I'll be doing another update probably next week, and you'll see that it's pretty much, well, fingers crossed. It's looking good. It's looking really good, I can tell you that. So, having said that, I've discovered some amazing things, and these are artifacts that I collected along with the discoveries, because I will never present you a idea or theory without some kind of evidence to explain how I came to this conclusion. And in the end, it could be completely wrong, but you'll understand when you see the evidence that, okay, I can see how you came to that conclusion. So, out there in the woods, I noticed that there was one area that had bricks in the mud. And I thought to myself, bricks are so old, they go back to, humanity's early days. So there's really no telling how old a brick is, So I dug a few out of the mud. And what I found was something really, really interesting. I think you'll appreciate this, okay? I'm going to go behind the camera so I can make sure you can see what I'm trying to show you. As you can see, this brick has a lot to say, a lot to tell us. Well, what's even more interesting, just as interesting, is some of these other bricks I found. This one is especially interesting because it has a claw in the top of it. When I looked at that claw under a microscope, it looked like it was like crystal, like glass. Let's see if I can Now, to me, when stood up, this brick reminds me of the Egyptian god Thoth, however you pronounce it. That's what I see. I also see an eagle's face, but it has a claw. It also has what looks like a little bone inside the brick. So that one is very interesting. Also, Now this one I think you'll find interesting as well. I feel like that brick is literally telling us that there are creatures who live underneath the ground. And then I have one more to show you, which is this one here. This one is really I feel like this brick is literally telling us something about Egypt and the pyramids. Now, just to show you one more thing related to that brick, because it's so fascinating. Again, I believe that is Thoth. Thoth, also known as Hermes. Hermes the Thrice-born. And yeah, he's found a way to be eternal. I think that could possibly be him. And if so, let's just say he's on the good side of humanity. He is working for the benefit of humanity. He's the father of language, and Hermes is considered the father of medicine. Now, throughout history, he has appeared many times as different important things when humanity needed assistance. So, nonetheless, these bricks all came straight out of the mud in exactly the condition you see them. So all I did was wash the excess dirt off them and dry them. I have more in my collection, and they are extremely fascinating to study, and they have a lot to say. They have a lot to say. Now, there's one more artifact. It's not related to the bricks, and it was found in a different area. But this one is really interesting, and it probably... Oh, what's important is if you look at the features, I do feature videos on the artifacts. Those are important because those contribute to the whole conversation. They actually contribute to the Morgellons also, because it provides more evidence of the proof that this is a technologically superior species or entity that is using the Morgellons for using our bodies as incubators or whatever. I mean, I can only say that because of the parasite on my head. You know, so there's still a lot of stuff to work out, but there is, I think I got a little bit off track there. So let me just show you this. What I believe this to be, based on the grooves, is and the red ochre, which is still in there, is used to apply paint for camouflage or whatever, hunting purposes or whatever, maybe war, battle. That's what I believe this is. So this is like a prehistoric makeup kit, is what I think this is. So that's pretty fascinating. Very fascinating. And if you notice the image inside there, it looked like some type of an ape creature. So I don't want to make this video too long. Just wanted to give you an update on the Morgellons. Wanted to explain some of my conclusions. Wanted to further the discussion. Appreciate any comments that you have. I did get some comments on my other channel about the Morgellons. Appreciate that. If anybody has anything to add about the bricks and the other artifacts, again, it's important to see the other videos I have about the artifacts, because many of these things have never been seen before, and it is all related. The Morgellons is related to everything else that I post. So just keep that in mind. Don't forget to subscribe. 9 out of 10 experts recommend subscription as the best way to cure boredom. So there you go. The experts agree. This is the place to be. The IOU, the Institute of the Unknown. Join. And the next video I want to talk about cell phones and what they can capture, because you can be an IOU investigator yourself. The powers of observation never go out of style. And your cell phone is an amazing tool. So I'll explain that next time. And we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.